Testing, testing, testing. I'm just going to assume this is working. Hi everybody, welcome to part 2 of our lecture on biomechanics and motion capture. In this section of the module, you guys are going to be working to record your own video using your cell phones or any other video recording devices that you have, and then analyzing it using the Kino Video software and Excel to report on some kind of outcome or measure that is of interest to you. So you have a lot of flexibility on what kind of motion you record and what you report on this, and it's intended to just be kind of a fun intro to how this is done. So first thing off, you're going to have to have a camera set up. One thing that's important to note that all cameras have some amount of image distortion. Typically better cameras, better video cameras, and better regular cameras have less distortion than lower quality cameras. Most cell phones actually have pretty good cameras in them nowadays, so those will work fine. GoPros, depending on what kind of lenses you have, sometimes those are good. Sometimes they have a fairly large image distortion because they're a wide angle lens. So that's not typically the best kind of thing to use. But it's also important to keep in mind that distortion is usually greatest at the edges of the images and middle more towards the center. So if we look at the previous image here, if we look at the middle of the image, things are not distorted very much, but as you get towards the sides, there's quite a bit of distortion kind of in the corners here where you can see the street is not straight, right? So things like that. So those are the things you want to keep in mind. It also simplifies issues if you keep the motion being recorded in a single plane which is perpendicular to the direction towards the camera. You can record things out of plane, but it requires you to do a lot of math to correct for that. And if you keep everything in one plane, then it's pretty easy to scale things. And in the demonstrations I'm going to be using for this module, I'm going to assume you're going to keep all of the image in one plane, which is perpendicular to the camera. So as an overhead view, this is what your setup is going to basically look like. You're going to put the camera in one location. You want that camera to stay as stable as possible. You also want to use kind of a high quality raw image format where possible. Different compression algorithms are going to modify that image a little bit, and you may have interlaced frames and things like that, which make it harder to process. Also, kind of the more proprietary the format you're using in terms of the compression algorithms, the less likely it is to work with the software that we want to use. So if you have options to kind of enable standard or raw video formats when recording that, use those. You may also want to try doing a sample recording of just anything and then making sure that is able to upload and work inside the software before you commit to doing a whole big setup of everything. And even I had some issues with this where I had rotated some images or some video using some Windows software to try and get it in the correct orientation, and doing that caused some dead frames in the video because it had changed the format of the codec that was being used to compress it, and so I had to go back to the raw video. So as far as your actor or the thing that you're going to be doing, you want to make sure that the person or the thing that you're recording stays in the middle of the field of view, again trying to stay away from those edges to try and keep it obvious. You want to have some kind of reference object that's a known size, which again is perpendicular to the direction of the camera. So that can be a yardstick, or it can be yourself if you have a pose that is fairly straight in at least one of the frames of your video or at the start of your video, just so you can transform each pixel into a certain distance, so that way the distance from pixel 1 to pixel 2 or pixel 1 to pixel 100 is some known distance, so you can calibrate all of that image data. And you want to make sure that whatever motion you're recording is going primarily perpendicular to the camera. So in this case, I have kind of a plane set up here, which is perpendicular to the direction to the camera. And if you set that up nicely, then this should be pretty easy for you guys to follow along and complete this activity. As far as the computer setup, you do need to have a Windows PC or a Mac running a Windows emulator. If you don't have a Windows PC and you don't have a Windows emulator, you can run a 14-day trial of the Parallels software. This is a pretty good Windows emulator, and the trial is a full feature set, which is 14 days long, which will allow you to basically run Windows software on your Macs. I'm actually going to take you guys now to the download page for the Kino VS software just to make it clear what you guys should be downloading. So here, this is the downloads page. The home page looks like this. Actually, if you click the download here, it'll give you the top link on this, which is this 0.8.15 Windows version. That's the version that I'm using. That's the one I suggest that you use. When you download that, you just need to run that exe, and it's going to run you through prompts to install that software on your computer. I've already got it installed, so I'm not going to run that now. And that's it for this video. I hope you guys are able to set up, and let me know if you have any issues or questions.